Hey everybody.
Hi.
Today is Saturday. It's in the afternoon. We got some afternoon thunderstorms rolling around us because it's Florida. And today we're here to talk about something that we've been meaning to talk about for about a week. But we've been struggling to talk about it because it is so disheartening. Even trying to bring it up right now is tough. Everybody has their own thoughts on it and how bad the situation is, or if it's bad at all, because we're not adoption experts, so we don't know anything about that and can't really speak on that matter.
No.
But we can speak to the case of knowing how it is to have a child with autism, but not only that, but to have a child with autism on almost the most severe level. Our daughter Malia, in case you're new, she is 10 years old. She is nonverbal. She's still not fully potty trained. She's like a ways there, but she's a very high wandering risk. She cannot be left alone for more than a minute by herself. She will eat or get into dangerous items.
Besides just dangerous items, as far as the common stuff like, you know, chemicals and things, she has celiac disease, which she can't have any gluten or her body attacks itself, so she will also sneak things like that, which could make a medical emergency.
She's 24/7 care. Even at night when we're sleeping, we're still concerned about her as far as her trying to get out her window, her door, because she just has no fear of danger whatsoever. So she wouldn't understand what it would be like to be outside.
We actually have a video on her trying to get away due to fear. Well, I'll link it down below.
So right now, please excuse us, but our 3 kids are in a pool right behind the camera. So if you can hear them screaming, that's why.
And that's because Malia can never be left alone. And then her other siblings are 8 and 3, so obviously they cannot be left alone. So we have to have them very close by.
I also want to mention that our 3-year-old Isaac, he'll turn 4 at the end of September. All right, this is something we haven't told anybody, but we've actually been kind of looking into it for the past year. We're highly suspicious that Isaac may definitely have autism. There are some things he does that are very similar to his sister. However, we understand that he could be on the very high functioning level, kind of the total opposite end of the spectrum, because he speaks,
he is verbal,
he listens, he's doing good with potty training. So there's a lot of things he's doing, and we're not worried. Like in autism, they lose their skills sometimes. We're not worried about that because he's almost 4. I think in most cases that happens around age 2 to 3.
Yeah, Malia had a few words when she was like 18 months, but they're all gone now, and I think they were all gone by her 3rd birthday.
Yeah.
She didn't have any words that left.
Yeah.
We can't speak on the adoption part because we've never done an adoption or been very close to somebody who has to be able to see what that process is like firsthand. But we can speak to having a child with severe needs, medical needs, autism needs, things like that due to Malia and now possibly Isaac.
Also, we felt the need to speak on behalf of it because we know another channel called Raising Autism. They have a beautiful little girl named Emma, and they did a video just like this speaking on the situation. And we thought, you know, being that Malia is 10 and we've been through this for 10 years almost.
And yeah, it just feels like we should address our viewers who, some of our viewers have family members with autism, some of our viewers just want to learn more about autism, so I feel like it is important to address it. So I didn't want to do this video because I didn't want to drag his name out any further across the internet. I didn't want to make this video for just personal gain, but I feel like it is something that needs to be addressed by those living firsthand with autism.
Yeah, if this video were some miraculous way to make any kind of funds from YouTube, we would definitely be very transparent on posting what those funds were and then taking a vote as to where those funds would go. And at that time, we would probably have everybody watching vote, maybe do another video voting on where the funds for the video should go.
Yeah.
Definitely towards an autism nonprofit or something similar to that nature. We're doing this video because we feel like we have to. We're not doing it for the funds, for the monetary efforts to exploit Huxley and more that he's possibly been exploited. Of course, that's not completely proven yet, so we can't say that he's been exploited. We can see all over the internet people are clearly making one video, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5.
And just, I'm in a lot of autism groups on Facebook just as an autism mom myself, and the story is just posted constantly. People are just talking about this story everywhere that is related to autism. So I feel like it's important that we speak on it.
Yeah, and a lot of the hate that they seem to be receiving evolves around the money that they have. Of course, they may have made that money from exploiting Huxley.
And the money thing, it doesn't matter. What matters is the baby at hand. Like,
and the sad part is, if it is the money thing, the money causes situations like this all the time. So it's just sickening if it is, disgusting, like want to throw up everywhere, if that is the case. So praying that it's not.
And we're obviously a family on YouTube, and we also didn't start our YouTube channel for money. We see a lot of ignorance every single day regarding like Malia, just people don't understand autism. So we started our channel to help other families kind of be who we needed back when we were getting her diagnosis. So we just want to help other people understand and kind of see what real autism looks like, and then also help families with topics of tips and tricks that we've learned the hard way that maybe we can make people learn the easier way.
And I think that we've already done that with our tiny little channel so far. I think we've already made a small impact, which is great.
I can't imagine the feelings of hate that they're getting and how that must feel, but I also can't imagine how Huxley is feeling, being taken away for a second time of everything that he was used to and knew to be normal.
Huxley was taken away from his complete culture, his language, everything that he was so used to. He was around age 3 when he came over to the United States. So, and then he was with them for, I think, almost 2 years.
Yep.
Just that amount of change for anybody, I think, would be insane.
But for a child or a person with autism, not all people with autism, but a lot of people with autism, change is a big deal for them. That is actually one of the concerns that we have for our Isaac, is he does not do well with change in routine whatsoever. It's a lot of big changes in a little 5-year period for a very tiny person.
So we watched a little bit of Huxley from a video in the past. I don't even know which one it was, but the mom was sitting there with Huxley and they were doing like a therapy session. And this kid, she just kept saying, look how silly he is. He had the most brightest, energetic spirit, and he was sitting there laughing and just being silly. And honestly, Malia at that age wasn't that fun and silly. And like, he was doing things like gesturing. I think he even spoke a few words. That showed us his level of challenge just from that little video. Even though we didn't watch like a ton, like you could already tell that he's not super challenging for when it comes to autism. We don't know as far as the medical aspect, because he does have a brain tumor, or he did when they adopted him. So we don't know how the medical aspect plays into it. Malia is 10 and she's completely nonverbal, as we said, and she doesn't do sign language like Huxley was doing, and quite frankly, he was doing pretty well at age 5. We decided not to continue with sign language because Malia has very, very low skills when it comes to fine motor. So it just was very tough. It wasn't going well, so we decided to put her on the Dynavox, which is basically an iPad communication device that she uses to communicate with us.
Just watching him sign so correctly at such a little age and follow directions that she was asking him to do. Malia's 10, and while she can follow directions, a lot of times with her behavior, she just doesn't feel like doing it, so she just won't do it. And half of her homeschool day is me arguing with her to come and do her work because she'd rather just lay down on the floor. But he was actually eager to learn. We don't know what happens when the cameras aren't rolling, but he seemed like he had a lot of potential to continue doing very well. He seemed very happy. He didn't seem aggressive. He didn't seem that way at all. And
once again, that's from our perspective in dealing now with autism for 10 years and possibly dealing with it with another child for the past 3.5 years.
We have 3 children and now possibly a second one on the spectrum, which is another challenge. They had 3 children already when they adopted Huxley. that in itself is a challenge.
Now, and as everybody knows, they adopted Huxley knowing that he did have a brain tumor and that it could cause, you know, all sorts of mental delays and different capabilities that would arise in the future possibly.
I watched their announcement video of baby number 4, which is Huxley. They talked in that video about how they were perfectly excited to dive into the unknown. They mentioned that they originally wanted to adopt from the United States. The reason why they didn't was because they would have to probably do foster to adopt, which is very common. They spoke multiple times about how they couldn't see themselves doing that because they couldn't have a child come into their lives and into their homes and bond with their other children and then have that child be taken away, because a lot of time in foster to adopt, reunification happens with the parents, which is great. And they said they wouldn't be able to handle that, but that's exactly what has happened now. Their children had a sibling and now they don't have that sibling anymore. They had a son and now they don't have him anymore. That seems harder for Huxley because it's not a child just going back to what they had known originally. He went from, this is my family, to, okay, now I'm gonna have another unknown situation.
Yeah, so we were just thinking about Huxley's siblings that he's had for the past few years too, like how are they feeling right now? We don't know any of that, but to have their sibling just vanish from them is really sad. And then same thing with Huxley, like how much did he adapt and love them, and now that bond is just completely just gone.
And they did just recently have a newborn.
It seems as though the decision was made on Huxley about not continuing to keep him in the home after, of course, this new baby was coming along. I think they knew that they were at their maximum capacity.
They said in a different video that Huxley's adoption wasn't an easy adoption because they didn't take their time. They wanted to kind of rush through to get him home to them because they didn't want him waiting for a family. They didn't want him stuck in the system and waiting to have his forever family.
And this is Isaac, for anybody that doesn't know him. He is 3.5 and he's completely soaked right now. It's near 90 degrees out here, so now I'm getting soaked and it actually feels good. Isaac, say hi to everybody before you go. Say hi.
Hi. Say hi, everybody.
Say hi. Good job, buddy. All right, go back to the pool. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Isaac almost just took a trippy to the mighty Mississippi.
They said that they were constantly looking at his pictures and just hoping that he was being raised the right way and being taken care of the right way. And it just seems like so much mental energy to put into a child and then raise him for 2 years and make him feel like he's your son and make him feel like these are his siblings, to just rip him away. I mean, it just seems really cruel. I
don't like to speak about anything unless I'm a master of the topic, and we don't really have that adoption part. We just don't know anything about it. But just from our perspective, it's just unimaginable that people could do this. Like, it just, despite any factor, it's just horrifying. And obviously it's better that they did what they did, because you don't want to see what happens to a lot of autistic children, which we don't even want to speak of, but you don't want to see that. But at the same time, like, they were financially set to deal with this. It wasn't even like they struggled for insurance, for therapy, for ABA therapy, speech therapy, occupational therapy.
Therapies for an autistic individual per month can be thousands of dollars. They were equipped for that though.
They were, because just the last video where they announced that Huxley was gone, that video they claimed made $40,000. So you can only imagine what the videos made the whole way through. A lot of special needs struggle financially, and that definitely wasn't a problem. It definitely looks to us as when this new baby came along, it just, they didn't want the, and I hate to use the word, inconvenience?
Or a burden.
Or a burden, but that's what they just couldn't deal with anymore. And some people are saying that Huxley was a threat. Highly doubt that. Highly doubt that. If Huxley was a teenager and was like aggressive, yeah, okay.
He's a little 5-year-old.
He's 5. I do not see him being a threat.
I watched a video from a year ago and they were talking, I believe it was James that was talking, and he was saying that Huxley was developing beautifully, that he was catching up to where he should be cognitively, and that he seemed to be understanding exactly what they were asking him to do most of the time. He was responding to academic questions. He was signing well. He was interacting with the other kids. He was doing amazing, and that it was just so beautiful to see him catching up, and his behaviors were great. And so you see that video from a year ago, and then we watched a few of the videos that were still up of Huxley in them, and he seemed like he was doing amazing. And then you see their video where they address the fact that he's no longer with them, and they're saying that he was so far behind and he was a threat and he wasn't, you know, going along with the other kids. And it's just hard to see that when on video you can see other points being made by them.
Right, and you pretty much documented his whole entire journey from before you even had him to after he's gone. And in that 7-minute video announcing that he's gone, it just, I don't know, like you could feel...
It seemed disingenuous.
Yeah.
The emotion didn't seem real.
Like I'm almost crying more than they did. And it was tough to even do this video. Like we've been literally struggling to do it for a week now. So for them to just do the video is unbelievable.
I kind of want a video from them explaining how they explained it to their children. I could never imagine telling Aubrey, our 8-year-old, hey, by the way, your brother is actually diagnosed with autism and we can't handle that. So even if it was something as simple, so we're gonna go have him live with grandma and grandpa because we just can't handle your sister and him both being on the spectrum. I could not picture myself doing that. I couldn't picture myself giving away my child. I understand that he wasn't their birth child, but it's an adoption. So you put in a lot of work, you put in applications. I know at least that much, to where if you're going through that process, your heart should be completely in it. And adoptions, as far as I know, aren't cheap.
No,
so it was a lot of money to probably bring him over here as well.
And she brought him from a whole different world, pretty much. Well, halfway across the world.
And a year ago, they mentioned that they might want to adopt another baby from China.
Okay, so Huxley was announced as baby number 4, and then she had a new biological baby recently. And the thing is, we all have been saying this, is what happens if that child has some form of something, whether it's autism, Down syndrome, which the kid doesn't have because I've seen him. But just the point here, wonder if the kid has something, would they do that to their biological child? And if so, how would that make it different than doing it to a child that you committed to when you adopted a child? How could you do that to any child, you know, being your biological child? It's mind-boggling.
I could understand a little bit. I can't really understand. But if the adoption agency played it like he was a completely typical child and it was gonna be like a super easy, smooth sailing adoption process, but they had prior knowledge that he had some kind of a brain cyst or tumor that was going to cause him cognitive delays and other unknown issues. They talked about how they were perfectly excited to dive into the unknown because of her medical background and that she was super equipped to handle it. They talked about how they couldn't do a US adoption because they couldn't stand the thought of bonding with a child and then having that child leave again. Everything that they said prior to getting him and even while they had him completely contradicts everything in the 7-minute video where they talk about him being gone. And that's what really bothers me, because obviously if it's your biological child, you don't know right away that they're special. But if you go through with an adoption knowing that kid is gonna have something, you owe it to that child to see it through, I feel.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, and I don't want to discount the fact that, yeah, it probably was hard. If you had 3 typical kids and now you have a special needs one, whether you thought you were equipped for it or not, it's not easy. But he, from what I could see, isn't even near the level of severity of Malia.
No.
And we're not signing up to rehome her tomorrow.
And the more we looked into this, the more horrifying it became to me, to the point where I just literally almost feel like throwing up. Like, you can just tell that it just doesn't seem to be genuine. And the more information you find out on this, it just gives you a horrible feeling in your stomach, a horrible feeling. And I really don't want to know any more about the case. Like it's horrible. All we can do right now is pray that the new family that Huxley is with is his new family forever. and that they're good people and that they're going to take care of him.
And they're going to love him.
And love him and have stability. And maybe he'll never even know he's been through what he's been through because he's such a young age. I'm praying that this won't have a big effect on him long term.
Right,
if
hopefully.
This new family is a good family and they love him and they take good care of him.
And he gets everything that he needs medically.
And they become the only family he's ever known. Over time, none of this will have an effect on him. That's what we got to pray for.
Yeah.
It really bugs me they didn't want to continue. I can't imagine what they would have done with Malia, let's say. She probably would have been out of the home much quicker, and I'm not even saying that to be funny. I can say, being the father of an autistic daughter who is 10 years old, who has been 24/7 around the clock care, that if these people probably would have went through the same thing we did, it probably would have resulted in a much quicker, what they unfortunately called it, rehoming.
I really wish they would have used any other term, because it just sounds like a puppy, like what you would do with, oh, I didn't realize that this Easter little chicklet was going to turn into a major duck, so I have to rehome it.
Yeah, your words mean a lot, I think, and by using that word also showed huge lack of emotion
and
compassion. So, and that video, of course, was taken down. If you are receiving all this hate and everything, maybe try to make a video where you're trying to make it right.
Explain more. Explain why you felt the need to do that, more than just, oh, this got too hard and so we're giving him to a family who can better equip.
But a lot of people are going to say they didn't do that because they didn't feel they had to explain. But the thing is, you brought everybody through this.
I feel like you have to explain because you put yourselves out there as a public figure.
Right.
You put his adoption as a public figure, and now you're putting him no longer being in your home out there as public figures. So if you don't want the public coming at you, do a good explanation to that public.
It would have been like starting the adoption, seeing him come over from China, seeing him come into the house, and then all of a sudden just pulling all the videos. Everybody would still be like, what happened?
Right.
Like, you know, at least say, this is what we're gonna do, you know, this is why we did it. We're so sorry for whatever conclusions you may draw, but this is what led up to it. Thank you so much for all your support. We are now going to be ending our public lives. But as we know today, the husband has a YouTube channel. It's something to do with cars and garages, maybe detailing vehicles, and he actually just uploaded a video today. So they're definitely not stopping on YouTube. Maybe they're pulling the kids and stuff off YouTube, but they definitely are still trying to move on with no explanation.
We really didn't want to make this video, this entire situation. I want to cry every time that we talk about it.
With everything that's going on now too, it's a shame that this story would surface amongst everything going on in the world, in our country. It's just really sad, and that's why, unlike raising autism, we could not really speak on it. That's how bad it affected us.
Because I just feel like, adopted or not, you shouldn't ever give up on your kids.
Right. Like, that's just something you don't do.
We got told, like, if Malia doesn't talk by 7, then there's still hope she'll talk. There's still hope she'll talk. Well, now she's 10. I'm still gonna try to communicate with her. Like, you just don't give up on your kids. You're still...
And that's maybe where we don't understand the disconnect with adoption versus biological. But it just, from an outside perspective, we're sharing our thoughts, and it just seems just outrageously wrong from our view to do what they've done. We're not passing judgment because we don't know, not even a percentage of the story probably, but just from the surface, it's how it looks. And just, it's something like, you know, if Huxley was going around with a knife stabbing them all and things like that, okay, maybe so, like, you have to live in fear while you're sleeping that the kid's gonna do something, but I don't think that was the case.
In all the videos we saw, he seemed like a really sweet boy.
Yeah. Now, unless they only show positive stuff.
Right.
Which they could, because that's what a lot of people on YouTube try to do. Same with social media, you know, all your friends and family look like they're always on vacation on Facebook. We're on a mission here. This isn't just a random YouTube channel to subscribe to my channel and make me rich so I can live in a big house. No. Our goals are a lot different than that, and we kind of went into that in our last video, quarantine pool day. So we have a lot of, that bird came close. We have a lot of goals and plans for the future, which include probably going to state capitals, going to the capital of
There's
our
a
country.
lot that needs to be changed for
Yeah.
people with disabilities.
And there are a lot of times where we would have hopped on a bus and went to our state capital, but work got in the way. And if someday ever we were making enough money off this and other stuff, we would be going to everything we possibly could go to. So that's a little bit of our mission, and we just felt we needed to talk about this, but at the same time, it's a struggle to talk about it. I still can't talk about it with a clear head. There's so much I probably want to say, but I just can't. So, and like I said, all we can do is just pray for Huxley that he is in a final home.
And that home is going to give him anything medically and therapy-wise that he needs to be successful in his life. Because
he needs it.
Because he needs it, and because I feel like if you don't give up on someone, then they can be successful to however successful that they can be, like however successful that they can live up to. And like we said,
just from seeing him in the short time that we did, we can already see that he has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
And probably a lot of potential to even live on his own one day. Hopefully his new parents can see this and that they will do their best to give him the best opportunity in life. We don't know the whole story. We don't want to pass judgment. We don't want to pass hate. But all we can say is that we're horrified by this. We're sickened by it. It was just horrible to hear. We actually probably avoided hearing some of it.
I don't think I clicked on the story for quite a few days after it broke. I kept seeing it everywhere. I just could not read it because, I mean, we're in Florida, and just recently we had that terrible story out of Miami. And after that, and then seeing this, I just couldn't, I couldn't read it.
It's too much at one time to take in. If we would have seen this story before they actually rehomed Huxley, I mean, it might have been even an option that we would have thought about adoption for the first time, because honestly, like we said, he seemed to not be what we thought he was going to be based on everything they were saying and what happened. So it was very, 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 very disheartening to see Huxley and to see the level he was at.
I mean, in the few short videos that we saw, I don't even think I saw him doing any kind of like crazy stims, which are certain things that autistic individuals do, movements or sounds that calm them down. Our Malia has a vocal stim where she's like, ah, and like that can be disturbing in libraries, quiet restaurants, but she has to do it. Some individuals flap, like some of them are disruptive. I didn't see, from the few videos I saw, I didn't see him doing anything even disruptive like that.
And you know, for people who didn't have their kid as a biological kid and they were challenging them in the public like that and embarrassing them, that probably would be something to get people thinking, what are we gonna do? And we don't even think he did that kind of stuff to pose that challenge on them. So if we were to know about the story before, even with what we have now, and I don't think we're anywhere near the income level that,
I don't know if you can hear that, but that is Malia's vocal stim.
We're nowhere near the income level they were probably. And we struggle with a lot of things, making sure Malia is covered. And now knowing that we possibly have a second child with autism.
Which is that one.
I think if we would have seen this story playing out in front of us, we would have had no hesitation to figure out if we could try to help and possibly looking into adoption, because how could you sit back and let this unfold in front of you? You couldn't. That's how awful it is. So, all right, guys. So thank you for listening to us ramble on here. Once again, just like Raising Autism said, check them out. We're nobodies, so we appreciate you showing up to watch and listen to us ramble on. We kind of actually feel better getting this out. Doing videos is definitely a form of therapy, so we look forward to any comments you may leave. If this video goes anywhere, we'll definitely make sure that the funds are distributed properly and with full transparency.
Yes.
On that note, we want to thank you for watching. Thank you for your support.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support.
And please, after watching this video, if you can, say a prayer for Huxley and his new family. And we'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.